If in your 20s and your 30s, you need to hear this. I have discovered the secret code that the top 1% don't want you to know, and I'm giving it to you today for free. If you've been asking yourself, what can I do to become successful? Then this episode is for you. My name is Daniel, and you're welcome to episode 9 of the Tea Time Global Podcast. July is my birth month, so I came bearing gifts. But before I go into what I have for you this week, let me tell you something that I planned earlier this week. So there's this channel that I follow that shares these DIY stuff and life hacks. You know, the ones that make you think, how come I didn't know this already? For this one, it was a quick way to take out braids. You undo the bottom part and then you pull out the middle section and boom, the braids come off. Really interesting. And then I thought to myself, if only I knew this earlier, helping my sister unbraid would have been way easier. For the guys, if you are looking for a way to impress that lady with some tricks, I'll leave the link to that video in the description and then you can go watch it. However, I'll leave a little disclaimer. If she does ask you, how come you're able to unbraid very quickly, you're on your own. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because sometimes you come across something later in life and you think, if only I knew this earlier, my life would have been much easier. There are secrets to success if you knew now will make your life so much easier. In 2023, I set out to find out what the top 1% were doing that others weren't. I read books, I watched interviews, I listened to podcasts, and spoke with people around me and who I knew were successful. Almost every single person I was reading and hearing about had something in common. In this episode, I'm sharing with you top 3 secrets that will make you successful if you're in your 20s and your 30s. The first secret is this: find the problem in the world and become obsessed with solving it. This is one thing that successful people do. You could see it in every decision, the friends they made, the jobs they took, the books they read, and even the skills they developed. And they started doing this in your 20s and your 30s. It's about really narrowing your focus. And the magic number is 3. Pick 3 problems and become obsessed with solving them. Talk to people about it, read articles about it, and create a plan as to how to solve it. The reason the top 1% become successful is not because they are lucky, it's because they became obsessed with solving problems. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, if I know this, why isn't my name on the Forbes list or something of that sort? Before recording this, I had 2 options: shut up, build, and show up later and say, hi guys, my name is Daniel, and here is how I built a multi-billion-dollar company. Which is what most successful people do. Because at that point, it's easier to convince you that whatever they're saying works because you can see proof. Now, the second option, which is to share it now, tell people that it works and hope they take out of the advice and try it. Now, I'm sure you know which one I chose, but I'm choosing to share this at this point in time because I really care about you. I truly want you to succeed. Also, you don't lose anything assuming all of this doesn't work out, which you realize is not really an option, because if you do decide to go on this journey with me by finding a problem in the real world and becoming obsessed with solving it, the results will show for itself. When I decided to leave banking, it was the scariest thing I'd ever done in my life. Maybe aside asking my high school girlfriend out. That was really scary. Speaking about high school girlfriend, she broke my heart, and that's a story for another day. When I decided to leave banking, I was leaving the only job I knew, a good paycheck, to start a business that I didn't know if it was going to see the light of day. And that takes me to the second secret I have for you. comfortable with taking risks. The kind that leads to growth, not you betting away your entire savings or anything of that sort. A filter I always use is ask myself a couple of questions. What is the worst thing that can happen? Is it in line with my long term goals? Does it threaten someone else's life? Does the payoff mean I would achieve a better result than I ever would if I didn't take that risk? Do I learn in the process? These are some of the things I ask myself. You see, in your 20s and your 30s, it's the best time to take that entrepreneurial spirit because you have relatively fewer responsibilities and you can bounce back even if you fail. And you need it whether you decide to be an employee or a founder. You need that entrepreneurial spirit. You need to be able to take risks. If you play it safe your whole life, you never discover your full potential. Become comfortable with taking risks. Now, I want you to do something for me. Close your eyes and picture yourself at 60 or 70. If you were asked to tell a story about your life, what would you say you've done? Think about it and write it down. And you can pause the podcast at this point and come back to it once you're done, because this is really important. Now that you're done with that, let's walk backwards to get the present value of these goals. What should you be doing now to achieve that? And compare that to where you are now. One thing I'm sure about is none of you listening to this podcast will write that the impact you would want to have made at 60 or 70 is have billions in your bank account. Because at 60 and 70, all that matters to you is how you made the world a better place. It's the kind of impact you made. And I call this the old age test. Which brings me to my third and final point. Tell a story with your life. You see, successful people tell stories and they're constantly writing a narrative. Every decision, every step is a piece of a bigger puzzle. And I realize when you start to picture yourself old and you ask yourself, what kind of impact do I want to make or what kind of impact do I want to have had? It gives you that clarity on what you should be doing now. As I wrap up on this episode, which is episode 9, let me ask you this. Are you ready to take action? Because the choice is really in your hands. The first secret is find a problem in the world and become obsessed with solving it. The second, be comfortable with taking risks. And the third, tell a story with your life. If you're really ready to build something real, you can go back and listen to this episode over and over again. The advice I've shared with you today would either stay with you forever and become the foundation for your future success, or become like any advice that you've had in the past that you didn't heed to. Take action on these 3 secrets, and trust me, the results will speak for itself. I'll sign out with a quote by Stanford professor Graham Weaver, which says, "The greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing you that your life would start when something happens." And folks, that's all for episode 9 on the Tea Time Global podcast. Don't forget to hit follow or the subscribe button, and see you next 2 weeks for the next episode. Cheers and bye-bye.